these are the settings, and 2020 will make it update much faster. I got a slow computer though, it's a 1700 AMD, so it's nothing to brag about. The thing though, these are fairly low settings, and so are these. I was just a bit surprised that, okay, one thing you gotta think about here is if you use draft mode, it will look completely different. So it's great for some stuff, but just be aware. And of course you got the, let's see, the screen, the color space. So sRGB or linear. Stuff to think about. I always keep the anti-aliasing low. But yeah, so if I pump these guys up, it will take kind of like forever. So I think I set that to 80 and it would just lock the computer. I know I got 8 gigs of RAM, but it really shouldn't matter. Just turned off VPR now because I want to see if that can help somewhat. So when I had the race set to the primary and secondary race set to 80, this would just take forever. It was stuck on 0 for 2 minutes, so I just gave up really. Now it's set to 2020, and that's extremely low. But I just want to see if it can kick it. Okay, here we go. I did something. So the VPR solution is extremely much faster. And I really find it difficult to cut the render time. So let's set this to 2, see if it can help. Set this to 15. So I just want to see really if oh wow. Okay, so it might be that either this one, or it should be that either this one or that one is really messing things up. Yeah, okay. So usually indirect bounces is of no problem whatsoever. But in this scene, it is. So you got to be careful when it comes to this one. And that kind of makes sense because it's an interior scene with tons of bouncing. So yeah, I'm just wondering if it's possible to get this to render with it in, you know, an okay-ish time. Do note, this is a really poorly lit scene. Okay, so you can see it going here. And yeah, it's just a lot faster. Just do note that this is really poorly lit. So if this doesn't look fantastic, then, well. But honestly, I was very surprised about that I had to cut down the bounces there. So setting that to 15 or whatever really made it problematic. This is just the radiosity, so I'm very curious about, since I have so much reflection going on. Okay, it's still quite fast on a very old computer. This is not the scene that Louis shared. I just couldn't get a hold of that one, so this is shared from Prometheus, a Blender file, and then I converted that to FBX and then tested this and that. So I'll share the scene, but yeah, I mean, it does certainly have a LightWave 11 look to it. But once again, this scene is not lit in the way it should be. So, and it took 1 minute. So if you have a modern CPU, this should render in 1 minute. So it might not be all that bad. I'm going to try to run Oiden denoiser on this one, just to see what happens. I think it might be a bit much though. There's quite a lot of noise here. Where does the noise come from? Well, everywhere really. It comes from low primary rays and secondary rays. And it comes from these shading samples, light samples being too low. But hey, 1 minute. That's quite okay. Or 2 minutes on this older computer. But again, I just couldn't get the lighting. I don't know how the light setup was in the original scene, so this is not looking all that great, really. But yeah, anyway, quite a lot of noise here though. I guess I should upload another one with less noise. You know what? I'm going to, let's see, if I go for a camera and I'll, this is where you might want to go for with this one. It just speeds things up tons. Yeah, so what I want to do So I want to render that one. Oh, actually, yeah, I also got very low anti-aliasing here, but I don't think that's really what's causing it this time around. You could pump this up to get rid of it, but that's usually not the way to do it. Often you can just leave this at 5 and it'll be, or 4, and it will be completely fine. What I probably want to do here is this one, pump that up to 10. I'm not really a fan of it because, well, it ups render time. So it gives you an approximate time though. So this took 9 seconds to render. Let's go back to what I had, and that's going to take. Okay, that was surprising. This one looks much better, and it's almost the same render time. Okay. Well, no question then. We'll pump it up to 15 or such. The roof, well, it might have to do with the light samples that it's getting noisy, or it could be also the primary secondary rays, or both. Oh, you know what? That just looks a ton better. So this was set to 5. So instead of messing with primary secondary rays, we'll up the samples instead. Okay, so I don't know, let's say 10, 12, I think maybe that will have to be high. This 5 is not much, so I'll set it to 3. Yeah, let's go with that. And let's make a full render. So once again, surprised by the bounces, that the bounces really made LightWave 11 choke completely. So setting the bounces to 15 really made LightWave take a hit, while setting it to 5 made it very acceptable. So something to be aware of, I guess, when you have a closed environment like this. Sometimes it's also difficult to predict just how LightWave will render it. The thing with radiosity in LightWave 11 is that it will start very slowly and then it will speed up. Kind of like this curve, really. It just starts slowly and then it just goes like bang. So my guess is that this is going to be finished in 4 minutes. Let's see. Which means 2 minutes on a decent computer. So what you see here is that so the anti-aliasing is really low, but it really takes away the noise because of the light samples and shading samples set to something higher. What a lot of people do is that they pump up the anti-aliasing instead, and then they increase the render time. Three is really low though when it comes to anti-aliasing. But you can get rid of anti-aliasing or harsh, the famous hard anti-aliased lines using Intel denoiser or gigapixels. Should also make it work. Okay, I guess I'm looking at 5 minutes instead, and that's because of the floor here. It's tricky. It has blurred reflections, and it's, yeah, a tough render really. But okay, I think that's quite okay-ish on an old computer. So this is the other render, twice as fast, and this one is something that you could use in production if you use tools for denoising and stuff, which is not that bad. I mean, again, my test render here is not optimized at all. So, I mean, the time is optimized, but I haven't optimized the lighting and other stuff, the color space and etc. Tone mapping and yeah, etc. Anyway, long video.